Hello, my name's Tim Cross. I'm the pastor of Living Word Church. This is our program for men only. This program, we talk about men's issues. And last program and this program, we've just been talking about ways of loving our wives. And I've read a book here recently called Love and Respect. And the premise of the book is, from the biblical standpoint, it says that wives are supposed to respect their husbands, but husbands are supposed to love their wives. And I don't know of any man that in some form or fashion that doesn't want a good, healthy relationship with his wife or significant other, whoever that is, that they want a good, loved relationship. They want an emotionally strong, emotionally encouraging relationship. And you know, a lot of men say that, well, I love my wife. And, you know, some men I've heard, you know, I'd be willing to give my life. Men have that courageous kind of thing. You know, I mean, men want to, you know, we want something to die for or something to live for. And sometimes men will say, I'm willing to give my life for my wife. Well, that's great. But sometimes the hard thing is not necessarily dying for your wife, it's living for her. You know, how do you live for her? In the last program, we just talked a little bit about loving our wives. What are some practical things we could do? David, and I know in the last program, this is David Erickson. He's been with me a number of years. You've been married for 30-some years, so you might have learned one or two things in that time. A little bit. And then we got Preston Bown, Dr. Bown here, that you've been married for 34, 35? Yeah,
34 this year.
Okay, yeah. And you and Debbie still look somewhat happy.
Yeah,
so
we are.
All right. So
it's actually better now than it used to be. So.
Okay, all right. And then Eric, now you're the newbie. You're the young kid on the block. You're the young punk. How long you been married? 5 years. All right. Well, I've been married. It'll be 31 in just a few days, or so what have you. So some of us have got some experience. We got the young guy to see if we can teach him anything. We're hoping to get something over to him yet, but. You know, David, I think in the last program, you know, as we're talking about some practical ways of loving your wife and what that looks like. And I almost want to say this, in talking about this, men, we are not saying that you have to be any less of a man. You know, there's almost this thing today, men have to be in touch with their feminine side. I don't have to be in touch with my feminine side. I can still be a man, but part of that being a man, wanting to love, I want to minister to my wife. I want my relationship with my wife to be healthy and strong. I mean, there's nothing worse. I mean, if you read the studies, some of the, you know, to go through the emotional battle of divorce or problems in your marriage, nobody likes that. You almost need to, like if you're looking at your wife, it's like going to school. You need to study her and what have you. And you said that on the front end, you learned some things about your wife that really helped you. And then later on, you began to understand, man, she's smarter than what you thought she was.
Absolutely.
Now, how much time did you spend really thinking about her, looking at her, and I mean, to really find out what some of her needs were and find out her value?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. Was there any time I didn't think about her? You mean before we were married?
Or since you've been married? Some guys get married and it takes them a while to finally...
Well, yeah, I did. It's a learning curve. Before we got married, I wanted to know everything about her. Everything. What her favorite color was. Every little nuance was important to me. After we got married, I kind of tapered off a little bit. And now that I'm a little more experienced at this, it's picking back up. It's important to me to know what's important to her. Oddly enough, we were talking about some of these acts of service and gifts and the 5 love languages. Quality time is her thing. But for a man to love his children,
yes,
is important for the wife.
Absolutely.
She was off Saturday.
Absolutely.
She was off helping a friend. And I got up in the morning and I got a bunch of stuff to do. But you know what? My 3 daughters were at home. Come on, girls, let's go out to breakfast. When my wife heard that, major brownie points. Oh, yes, husbands, love your children. Show your wife that you love your children. Her children.
That's right.
Goes a long way.
Preston, how long did it take for you to... Now, all right,
way too long.
Okay.
Way too long, guys. No, because it's true. You're initially so interactive. You want to know everything about them. You want to spend all your time. And then you start working. And your focus becomes, most men, it's on their job. They've spent all their time focusing on their job doing this, and you kind of push your wife to the side. You kind of let her go, find her own. And she's probably busy raising kids, so she's taking care of all that while you're kind of doing your career thing, you're doing your business thing, and so forth. And then guys will pile on top of that, hunting, fishing, golfing, all those things like this. And all of a sudden, there's been no time for your wife. Okay, you can't do that, guys. It took me a long time to, in fact, it was so ingrained in me not doing that the way I needed to do it, is we sat down. So I thought, I know I need to start doing this with my wife. So I sat down at the dinner table and I had a cup of coffee and crossed my legs. Okay, ready to talk? She's busy cleaning up. Huh? You what? Ready to do what? Well, here, I'm the end of the day. I'm all settled down. I've eaten. I feel good. I'm ready to talk. Incorporate that a whole lot earlier. Okay? A whole lot earlier. And you got to remember, women have a million things to do. So you got to find a time that's good for both of you. Okay? Where you can come together in a quiet, not having kids run all over the place, but and then talking about quality time, make a time to date your wife. Take her out. Because if actions do speak louder than words, if you never tell your wife you love them, how are they going to know that? You got to tell them you got to love them. And you do it by a non-sexual touch, by speaking it. There's guys out there that have never told their wife beside when they first got married, I love you. They need to hear that.
Or, forgive me for interrupting, because this is the second time this thought has came to me. Sometimes the only time men want to pay attention or say I love you to their wives is when they want sex.
And I'll tell you what happened from a female standpoint, because we've ministered to couples. They'll start to feel used and abused. You can't do that. It's supposed to be a mutual thing, mutual gratification. You want them to come to you based on love, not because of what you do for them. Your wives, we have a tendency to take advantage of them. And most wives are very self-sacrificing. Most guys are not self-sacrificing. But when you learn to do that, when you learn to put your wife's needs ahead of yours, it's called the paradox principle, and you have to sacrifice self, but you receive. You're giving of self to receive. And women do that instinctively. They do that all day long. They do it with you, the husband. They do it with the children. They do it with their time, everything. They're always doing that. Remember, they're your helpmate. They're part of who you are. You're a one flesh coming together. Don't neglect that, because you're neglecting yourself when you do that.
Preston, you said something I heard recently. And what I'm about to say, if there happens to be any ladies tuning in, just don't listen to what I'm about to say. Guys, you'll appreciate what I'm about to say. In most things in life, it doesn't matter, even, quote, female-dominated things such as cooking. The reality, the best cooks in the world are men. And the best hairdressers are usually men. And that even most of, except for having babies, and I'm not trying to put women down. I'm trying to make a point here for a second. Because men have a tendency to be, we go in one box and we concentrate on one thing at a time. Women's brains work different. They're like spaghetti. It goes all over and somehow it connects. And one of the things that they say, the reason that men are usually the best at any particular one subject is because when a man determines to focus on that, he puts all of his energy towards that, and he can see just that one thing. To where a lady, she can't focus just on one thing because somehow this reminds her of that, and then this goes here, and all those kind of things go all over. But a man can focus on one thing, like, say, cooking, and he will have a tendency, men, if they'll concentrate on that one thing, will usually be better than most women. That's just the way. Now, I'm saying that for a reason. My point is, guys, is this. If we'll take some time to focus on our wives, be sensitive towards our wives, study our wives. And a lot of times we capture our wives because we focused on them. We gave all our energy to catch that girl. I mean, we did everything we could. We learned everything we could. And we got her. And we think now that we got her, we don't have to focus on her anymore. Except when we go to bed.
And David talked about, men are doers. We like to do things. We like to accomplish things. We get great satisfaction on doing something. We get great satisfaction on what we do in life. They're relational. You've got to really remember that. That's why, again, if you don't have time, you take at least one night a month and spend time, if not more often, preferably once a week, where you get alone with your wife, whether you just go down to have a cup of coffee, or you just go down to the lake. We just sit quietly, nobody's disturbing us. Turn the TV off and let's just talk. Let's just enjoy each other's company.
It's amazing how cheap, and I forget, guys, this is guys, ladies, you aren't supposed to be listening. It's amazing you can go down in the summer and go grab an ice cream cone for, go get a couple ice cream bucks or ice cream cones for a few bucks and go take a walk down the beach. You don't have to go to some 5-star, restaurant and spend mega bucks. I mean, that'll mean a lot to a lady if you just have an ice cream cone with her.
But that
and talk to her.
depends.
Oh, well.
Depends how much you've spoiled them. Once you set the bar real high, you may have a hard time coming back down.
Okay. Listen, guys, we're going to be back in a few moments and talk some more about some practical ways you can love your wife.